Hello everyone, this is Damian Nava from skatingschool.pl. Today my guest and our guest is, in my opinion, the best inline instructor in the world, Asha Kirkby from skatefresh.com. Hello Asha.
Hi, Damien. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Asha, at the beginning, please tell me how I can speak your name correctly. Asha,
Asha.
Asha,
Asha.
Asha,
Mm-hmm.
Asha. Okay,
Like
okay.
like Sasha, but no S. So just Asha.
Okay,
Yeah.
Asha. Okay, because in Poland we have name Joanna, and
Uh-huh.
the
The nickname.
short way,
Uh-huh.
yeah, of this name is Asia in Polish.
It's true. I've had Polish people tell me, "Are you Polish?" Because it's a Polish name. It's actually my name is. I was born in Africa, and my name is African, and also from India. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a name that seems to be common in many languages except English. It's not an English name.
Okay, okay. From your fans and my fans, because I have a YouTube channel too, and I announced our interview, and honestly, that was a big surprise in Polish in Poland, and everyone want to see that interview. Everyone want to see you in Poland. Today, I want to do the best of these questions. I want to ask for you.
Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
all yours.
Fir- First of the questions is, how is the return to normalcy after this lockout? What is the situation in England regarding roller skating?
Okay, well, I have only just returned to the UK. So I was in Brazil and I go to Brazil every winter. So usually December, January, February, I'm always in Brazil. My best friend from when I was a child is Brazilian. So I always go and stay in her house in the winter because here in England in the winter, I don't have an indoor venue. So I skate outside all the time. So in winter in England, I can't really work. So I always disappear for the winter. So when COVID started, or when the UK locked down in mid-March, I was about to go on tour to Argentina and Australia for 6 weeks and then return to England. But I had to cancel those trips very quickly. I was devastated. I've been planning this trip to Australia for 1 year. Anyway, I canceled everything and I stayed in Brazil. And then I closed my skate school in London, like everybody. Your school probably also was
Yeah,
closed.
yeah.
So, I expected to be in Brazil for months. I think when lockdown started, we all thought this is going to be forever, no? And then I returned at the beginning of June, so 3 weeks ago. And
Mhm.
because it looked like England was beginning to reopen. And in Brazil, still things are getting much worse. So when I returned, I had to go 2 weeks into quarantine where I couldn't go outside. And now I've only been out for 7 days. And I've been in my
Okay.
apartment. I've been moving back in because when I go away, I rent out my apartment. So I'm not a very good person to ask how is the normalcy because I haven't been out very much. I know that skaters are allowed to gather in groups of 6 and no more, and we have to social distance. So at the moment in London, so I don't live in London. I live in Brighton, which is a town on the sea, maybe 1 hour from London. So my
Mhm.
school is open in London, but just for private lessons and small groups of 4 people. And for now, I'm staying here and just sort of catching up with my work. In Brazil, I had very bad Wi-Fi, so there were many things I couldn't do. And I couldn't film. I had just a little balcony. I don't know if you saw my videos from there.
Yes, I
But
saw it.
I had a tiny space and I was going a bit crazy with not being able to film. So now I'm back. So it looks like I'm very surprised because I expected everything to be much more locked down. And everybody is out,
Mhm.
everybody's in the street, nobody's wearing masks. We have to wear a mask in the shop and on public transport, and that's it. So I am surprised because, my lockdown was on an island with my best friend and her mother. and I saw nobody else. So it was a very unusual lockdown. And so now I'm back, and
Yeah.
it just feels like everything's just normal, but strange. So I'm not going out too much. I'm just working a lot, and I'm filming and skating. So I'm not really doing much in groups. Tomorrow I'm going to meet 4 of my students and friends, and we're going to go for a little street skate. I haven't been street skating yet, so I'm very excited. So I think, slowly things are opening up, but I don't think big groups are not allowed yet.
Okay. So it seems it's a really similar situation like in Poland.
Uh-huh.
But at now we have permission about maximum people on outdoor or inline. But it perhaps from square meters or the hall. Okay, so it's okay. The second question: how is skates? Maybe my question, personal. Please let me know what is the difference because beside rollerblading, inline skating. Which one of those words are correctly?
Okay, well, it's a good question. The official term should be inline skating, okay? But that was not the
Okay.
first. The first word for inline skating was rollerblading, because the first brand who made skates was Rollerblade, the brand.
Okay.
Right? So in America in the 80s, Rollerblade was the most important brand. And so people said, I'm going rollerblading. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
interestingly, it was Rollerblade, the brand, who decided they didn't want the sport to be called rollerblading, because people were also saying, I broke my arm rollerblading. And
Okay.
Rollerblade, the brand, didn't want negative publicity.
Yes. Yeah.
Rollerblade invented the word inline skating. So, in general, I tried to call it inline skating, but most people in most countries, you say rollerblading and they say, huh? And then I say, I say inline skating. They say, what? I'm an inline skating instructor. And they say, what's that? I say,
Yeah.
I'm a rollerblading instructor. They go, ah. So,
Okay.
still slowly trying to educate everybody in, using the word inline skating. But either is fine, either is
Yes, yeah. But what with skating? Skating is
Skating is
overall.
all kinds of skating. So quad skating. Quad skating is the same as roller skating. Yeah, the 4 wheels.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
you could say skating for all of those. And an ice skater will say, I'm going skating. So it's all skating is all of them. Ice, inline, quad. And I think
Yeah.
even the skateboarders say, I'm going
Hmm?
skating. They don't say I'm
Yeah.
going skateboarding. So I think skating has become this term for all kind of wheels. So
Okay.
that can be confusing, especially on Google. You put in skating something and I get lots of skateboarding, which I think
Yeah.
is kind of interesting,
Yeah.
because I don't think they should be called skating. I think they should be called skateboarding, but I think they are
Yeah.
stealing our term. So yeah, skating is just a bigger umbrella.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So now the questions from our follower.
Uh-huh.
How is skates popular in the UK? How do city authorities approach skaters? Are
Mm,
there any events for roller skaters and that type of events?
interesting. Okay, so in general in the UK, skating or inline skating is more popular in the south of the UK than the north. And that's probably because the weather is better in the south.
Okay.
And particularly in London and the towns and cities on the south coast, looking at France. So I live in Brighton, which is on the south coast. So it's more popular in the south. How is skating viewed by the authorities in the UK is a very good question, because it's not very positive. So,
Oh,
for example, we could skate and also for the in the general public. So, for example, if I skate on a cycle track, I will have cyclists saying, "Get off the cycle track," because I'm not a bicycle. If I
Yeah.
skate on the pavement, the people will say, "Get off the pavement, you're not a pedestrian." If I skate on the roads, the cars will shout at me and say, "Get off the road." So I've always said to my students, we skaters in the UK, we don't have a place. You know, we're not allowed, you know, there's no laws in the UK. It doesn't say that we can or can't skate on the road or the pavement. So I say we need to skate wherever we want to. Yeah, wherever is the safest place for us to skate. If there is a pavement with no people on it and a beautiful surface, I'm going to go on the pavement. Yeah, if there is a road which is beautiful surface and not too busy and there's enough space for me, I'm going to go on the road. So I think we have to make our decisions, you know, where is the safest place? Yeah, and everybody else can have their own opinions, you know, because nobody wants a skater anywhere, not on the cycle track, not on the pavement, not on the road. Yeah, and if we go to the parks are quite small, usually very crowded. And, you know, in London, there's only a few parks where you are allowed to skate. In the other parks, it's forbidden. So, you know, in the UK, and this is one of the reasons why many years ago I started to take small groups of my students. We would go to Europe for the weekend. We'd go to Paris, or we'd go to Amsterdam, or we'd go to Berlin, in order to skate in places where nobody would shout at us. And it was worse 10 years ago. You know, now it's maybe a bit better. You know, in terms of the authorities, you know, I have been told by the police to get off the road. I've been told by the police to get off the pavement. So there are no laws in the UK, which means, you know, essentially I teach my students to be responsible, you know, which means wherever you're skating, you know, be nice to the pedestrians, be nice to the cyclists, you know, follow the rules, don't be reckless, don't, you know, make sure you can stop, all that kind of thing, because all of that helps the image of skaters, you know, and I want the image to be, we are responsible adults doing a sport and getting our exercise. We have as much right as anybody else to use the city, in my opinion. So, but the UK is not great compared to other countries in Europe where skaters are much more kind of accepted and, you know, they are expected to go on the cycle track. Yeah, and in many European cities, you're not allowed to skate on the road. You have to be on the cycle track. But that's good because that's a law or that's an understanding. Yeah, I think here in the UK, it's all very ambiguous, and that is not a very good situation. But it is. I always say our laws in England are very, very old. They're from the Victorian times, you know, and for those laws to change, it's going to take 500 years. So for now, just we skate where we want to, and we skate well. That's my plan.
Okay.
And you asked about events. There are not very many events for skaters. In London, London is the center of all, you know, skating in the UK. And in London, we have some street skates, you know, some Friday night skate, Wednesday night skate, and a Sunday skate, and a Saturday. So we have 4 street skates a week in London, which are all free, and they're all different ability level. So Saturday is super, super beginner, Sunday is beginner, Wednesday intermediate, Friday advanced. And so that means, you know, every skater can get together with other skaters and skate. And I know that in Warsaw, you have a huge Friday night skate, no? 5,000 people? Yeah, I've heard of it, and I want to come. We'll talk about
great.
that later.
Okay. So you really surprised me about this law in UK because we in Poland at this time, maybe a few years later, in the beginning, we have new streets only for skaters. And we have a law that inline skaters are the same like pedestrians. So we
Wow.
can yeah, but it's quite problem about using cycling, roads and
Mhm.
roads for cars, and that is a problem. But everything not from this side we can use normally, and it's okay. It's okay.
Very
So it's really good. I live in Katowice, and Katowice and agglomeration around of Katowice have around 2 million people, and
uh,
we have really great parks with wide streets only for inline skating, for scooters,
wow.
and this little wheels on the
Yeah.
bearings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How amazing. I mean, I've never heard of a space just for skaters and, just for skaters and skateboarders. That's fantastic. Even more
yeah,
reason to go to Poland.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Uh, Third question: how long you have been rollerblading? Oh, rollerblading,
Okay.
inline skating.
So inline skating, I started when I was like 24, 25. So like, I guess that's 21 years. I'm 46. So, yeah, 21 years on inline skates. But I was originally a quad skater on roller skates. So
Okay.
I was an artistic figure skater as a teenager. So I started
Ice or inline?
no, on rollers,
On quad.
on quads.
Okay.
So I started when I was 10, and I did competitions, and I was in the British team. So I skated a few
Well,
times internationally. I think 4 times I skated internationally. And I stopped when I was like 17, basically just before university. So between university and 24, I didn't skate. I stopped skating. I had to completely stop so that
okay.
I don't know, I was devastated to stop artistic skating. I wanted to go to world championships. I wanted to be a skater. Um, but my teacher at the time, my coach, she was very clever. She said, "You're good, but you're not that good. You're not going to be world champion." And she said, "You're too tall." And I am. I'm not figure skaters. To do triples, you need to be tiny and you need to be very light. And I'm not tiny. I'm super tall. I'm nearly 6 foot. So, she was very clever to tell me that my career as a competitive skater had to finish. And she said to me, she said, "Asha, you're intelligent. You have to go to university. If you don't go to university, you'll just end up being a skating teacher." So, so off I go to university. I was heartbroken, but I stopped and I went to university, and I didn't plan to be a skating teacher. That wasn't my plan. It just sort of happened. And after university, I did a few jobs for like 2 years, and I was super unhappy, like
Yeah.
miserable. It was horrible. I remember doing one job for 3 months and then a different job, and I would keep changing jobs, thinking that I had to find a different job, and all the jobs were the same. They were all boring and repetitive and sitting in front of a computer, and I'm not a technical person. And I remember thinking, this is just, I went to university for this, for this kind of job. And yeah, to cut a long story short, I saw some rollerblades in a window of a secondhand shop, and I just bought them, and they were terrible, terrible skates, like plastic, really old. And I went to the park, and I remember the noise. It was like like
Yeah.
they didn't roll, the wheels didn't roll, but I liked it. And I met a friend who we started skating together, and within a few months, he said to me, "We should do this instructor course." And I said, "Why? Why would we do that?" And he said, "Oh, you're looking for a job." He said, "It'll make you look interesting on your CV if you say you've taken a course in teaching skating." So, and he was the person who decided when we passed the instructor course. He said, let's make a company. And I said, doing what? And he said, teaching people to skate. And I said, people will pay us for that? And he said, sure. I was like, okay. So, nothing was my idea. It wasn't my idea. And anyway, that was what happened. And I just, I started teaching, but I imagined, I left my jobs and I started teaching, and I was working in a restaurant, and I was looking after some people's children, and I was walking some dogs. So I had 4 jobs. And I was just very happy that in 1 month I paid my rent and I didn't have to go back to the office. And so the next month I thought, and I thought it was all temporary. I thought I was just delaying having to go back and get a proper job. And here I am 20 years later. So,
But this is beautiful. You do that what you love.
Absolutely.
This is the best. This is the best job.
Absolutely.
About you starting in competitions and words from your coach. I imagine it like this is one of the best coaches in football, Jose Mourinho, and he was never great player, but he's really good teacher. He's really good coach. The same, I think, with Alex Ferguson, really good, great person.
Yeah.
I think it's similar. So,
Yeah.
great choice and great coach.
Absolutely. But, part of the reason that I am a very technical teacher, and it's because my background is artistic skating, and artistic skating is extremely technical, to jump in the air and go 3 times and land on 1 leg. It's really technical, so I have that kind of technical understanding about how to make wheels do what we want. For me, it's a fascinating thing, and it's very easy for me to see what a problem is with people. Usually I just need a few seconds and I see it. So yeah, I was very fortunate that I didn't plan my career, I didn't plan my job. I just I think the important thing I did was I left my jobs. I stopped working in offices. I said enough, and I didn't have a plan, but I just decided to take a few months off just to think, and I was very, very depressed, and I think sometimes people think that they have to plan everything. And I had no plan, but what I did was I created some space. And into that space, I met this friend, we did the course, we started a company, So that was the only thing I did. Sometimes I think we have to know our limit, and I had reached my limit with being unhappy in that kind of work. I assumed I would go back. I assumed I would have to, and I was very, very lucky that I didn't have
to. Okay. Second question: how did you start roller skating? Now we know it's inline skating. Tell the story how it started.
Well, when I started skating when I was 10 years old, I was at school. I was bullied, so I wasn't very popular, and there used to be a group of girls, and after school they would wait for me, and then they would bully me. And so one day I decided I'm going to go home a different route. Yeah. And I went home a different route, and I was passing like a building construction site, and there was one of these big, in English we call it a skip. A skip is like a rubbish bin for construction. Yeah. And it was full of wood and just construction stuff. It was big, like a big one that they put on top of a truck. Yeah. And I was passing this thing, and on the very top I saw the toe and 2 wheels of a quad skate just sticking out at the top. And I had never seen a roller skate before, because I didn't grow up in England. I grew up in South America, and I grew up a mountain with no electricity, and I had a crazy childhood. So I didn't know what roller skate was. I'd never seen one. I'd never heard of it. I'd only been in England for like 6 months. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking somebody put a car on a shoe. And I was like, wow, you know, my brain. So I get up on this thing and I climb to the top, and there's glass and there's nails and it's just super dangerous. I take this thing and I remember like spinning the wheels. I was like, wow. Anyway, I come down and I put it on, and it's my size. Amazing, right? And I stayed for like half an hour with one skate and my shoe, just like, you know, scooting.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the most fun thing I'd ever seen. And then I thought, this would be better with two. Like, this would be much better with two. And I was looking, and I didn't see the other one. And then I thought, oh, it's fine. I'm going to go home with one. So I start going home, and then I went like 5 minutes, and then I was like, no, there has to be another one. And I go back and I start to like move everything, and I find the second one. So I think that moment, you know, was like divine intervention. I don't know, you know, what would have happened to my life if I had never had that moment, you know? So I put on the other skate, and I remember, you know, when you go from the pavement to the road, there's a little ramp. And I remember
Yeah.
like, woo, nearly falling over. And then I remember bending my knees, and I was like, oh, that's better. So it's like I discovered bending my knees in my first like 2 seconds on skates. I discovered that just naturally. So I went home and I said to my mom, look at these things. I didn't know what they were called. And my mom said, oh, great. She said, where are your new school shoes? And I was like, oh, and I had left my shoes on the street. So she was super angry. So I went back and my shoes had disappeared. So, you know, I have students who've known me for 10 years and they've never seen me wear shoes because I skate to the park and I skate home. Anyway, so the day I found skates, I didn't need shoes anymore. So yeah, so that was when I started skating when I was 10, and when I was 24 was when I just saw some rollerblades in the window of a shop, and I just decided to buy some. So I had two things.
It's a great story. You just change your shoes for quad, and it's okay for few years.
Exactly.
It's great. Next question: do you still write alone, just for fun, or do you only train others and possibly record new movies?
I do skate for fun, and it changes. You know, it has been a problem in the past that when I get very busy working, you know, in general, I have very little time off. You know, my biggest problem is I work too much because I love my job and my job is fun and I have a lot of work. So in the past, it has been a problem that I didn't skate enough for fun. And I always felt it to be a problem but it wasn't because I didn't want to skate. It was just lack of time, you know. But there was, you know, a lot of ways that I get my skating in is, you know, so I've been teaching for 20 years. In the first 10 years, I lived in London, and I would skate to Hyde Park to give my lessons, and I would skate home. So for me, that skate was my fun time, yeah? Even though I was traveling to work, it's still fun. So for me, for the first 10 years, that was my main sort of way to skate by myself. And for me, it was street skating. And, you know, I was a figure skater on a rink. Skating on the streets was completely new and a completely fantastic, you know, amazing experience. And I love street skating still. You know, it's one of my favorite things. Now I don't live in London. And now, you know, I can spend more and more time on the computer. A lot of my work is on the computer now. Which is funny because that's what I didn't like about my previous. And now, you know, my fun skating is now dancing on quads because I don't teach on quads very often. Yeah, if I have a private lesson on quads, yes, I wear my quads, but usually all my groups I teach on inlines, And even if I have a quad skater in the group, it's okay. I can teach them on inlines.
Yeah.
So for me, last weekend, I went skating in the afternoon with my quads and some music. And so for me, dancing is my kind of new, not new, but it feels new because I haven't been skating for like 3 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everything is now new. But yeah, dancing on quads is my fun time, and street skating on inlines for sure. Yeah, and I try a few times a week to do that. Yeah.
Okay. It's great. I saw you last videos on quads. On quad.
It's the same thing, right?
It's
I
really
look
fun.
exactly
It's
the
really fun.
same on inlines or quads. It's the same. For me, there's uh, not much difference. You know, if I want to go fast on the streets, I would never use quads. I think quads are
Yeah.
not for streets.
They are slower.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are
When
little bit slower.
they are, I think they're a lot slower, especially because I have 110 wheels, yeah, on my inlines. So for me, the slowness of quads gives something else. You know, there's less adrenaline,
Yeah.
it's more relaxed, um, and for me, quads is usually with music, and I don't normally inline skate with music because I don't like to have music on the roads. I don't think it's safe.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, quads is music and relaxing and not on the roads. So it's much more relaxed for me, quads. And
Yeah.
inlines is much more kind of aggressive and adrenaline and speed, which I love also. I love them both.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next, what was your most dangerous fall? Because we all can
We all
fall.
fall. Absolutely. What was my most dangerous fall? Well, very easy to answer that one. In 2015, I had a serious fall, which doesn't look serious, but I did a really serious injury. So I've been very lucky in my life, even as a figure skater when I was a teenager. I really didn't, I never broke a bone. I never had, I never had any injuries. And for the whole, you know, 15 years of my career, no, as a teacher, no injuries. 2015, I fell, and I'll send you the video of my fall because I was being filmed when I did the injury, which is very unusual. Yeah, how it's not very common to see a serious injury on camera. So you can show that if you like. And I broke my hip. So in two sort of places, in your hip joint, you have your femur and you have the socket. Yeah.
Yeah.
In between there is the cartilage. Yeah, there's like a bowl, a circle of cartilage, yeah, which protects these two
Yeah.
bones touching each other. My circle of cartilage is split in half, more than half.
Ooh.
It's only attached by a tiny piece. And basically, I should be in agony. I should not be able to walk or skate or cycle, and I do all of them. So I have two doctors who both say I'm a medical miracle. They have no idea why I am not in agony all the time. And I think the reason is, you know, I do a lot of yoga. I've been doing yoga for 20 years more. I've been doing yoga more than skating. So 25 years yoga. And I think that the muscles around my joints are very strong. And
Yeah.
it means that it creates some space. And if my muscles were weak, this would push and the bone would be on the bone and it would be very painful. So I think because I have strong glute muscles,
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why I'm still skating. So when you look at the video, I'm doing a forwards entry to power slide, not very difficult. And I made a mistake. And the mistake was essentially the mistake was caused because I was exhausted. So I had been filming one of my online training programs, and I had been filming for 30 days every single day. I filmed for 1 month, about
Mm.
5 or 6 hours every day, and it was 40 degrees Celsius. It was hot, boiling hot. And it was the last day. Okay, so imagine, you know, 30 days, 5 or 6 hours a day, 40 degrees, and it was the last hour on the last day when my body just basically, I did the power slide and my leg just went raw. Just I couldn't
Oh,
support my weight. And if you look at the fall, it doesn't look like a dramatic fall. And I always say there are two types of falls. There are the impact falls, bang, when you look at something and everybody goes, oh, yeah, you know those
yeah,
falls. Right?
yeah,
And that usually results in a horrible bruise, and it goes red and pink and purple and yellow.
yeah,
And it's okay. It's like a surface, superficial thing. And it's very often very painful. The other kinds of falls are usually not dramatic, but they are a twist in the joint. And those are usually the
yeah,
more serious ones. So, at first, I had no idea that the injury was serious. I mean, I've been falling over on roller skates since I was 10 years old. And it hurts at the time, and you just get up and you carry on, and in a few weeks, it's fine. And I expected that to happen, and it didn't really get better, but I kept expecting it to get better. And I don't really go to the doctor. So I think it was 8 months later, I went to the doctor reluctantly. And that's when I started the process to get x-rays and to discover what was happening. So I was told that I should have surgery, but if I have surgery, they can't guarantee that I will skate again. So for me, surgery is not an option. So I'm perfectly happy now, maintaining a high level of fitness and strength so that I can continue to work and skate. Maybe later in my life, I can have the surgery and take the risk. But for now, it's fine. The worst thing for me is to sit down. So after 1 hour of sitting, I have to stretch and I'm a bit uncomfortable. But I can skate. I mean, that's all I need. And when I skate, I've edited my skating. So you don't really see it, except if I have to go up a big hill. If you skate behind me and I'm going uphill, I skate like this. Big push, nothing. Big push, nothing. Big push, nothing.
okay,
So I have no power in the push on my left leg, zero power. So for me, the big wheels, the 110 wheels, saved my life. They saved my life. They arrived from Power Slide, completely coincidence after my injury, maybe 5 months after my injury. And they saved my life because I skate with one leg. I skate with one push. And if I was on 80s, 480s,
yeah,
I would push with one leg and I would
I know.
be way back there. So,
Yeah,
I can still keep up skating with one leg and one push and big wheels. So for me, the three wheels really, I think they saved my skating and my career. So I'm very grateful to those. Yeah.
for me, three wheel skates are really great skates to big distance. But
Yeah.
when I go to cities, I choose usually
Mhm.
four types,
Yeah.
80s, all 76 and 80s, because
Mhm.
I love hockey skates. So
Mhm.
that's my favorite.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
I think the big wheels are really designed for distance. Distance is the main advantage you're going to get on big
yeah,
wheels. So I mean, I think they're an interesting development. I do think they're an interesting development. I don't think everybody needs to skate on three wheels. I really, I hope that in 20 years the variety is still available, that you can choose
yeah,
four wheels and three wheels, and
yeah,
I think having the variety is really useful, and definitely it's a little bit more, how do I say? I think technically on three larger wheels, you can't afford to make mistakes. Like if you have
yeah,
mistakes on your control of your edge on a bigger wheel, the effect is going to be worse.
yeah, yeah,
So the margin for error, I think, is smaller on a big wheel.
yeah.
We have to be
I
more
think it's
technically correct
because
on a
we
big
have,
wheel because you're
yeah,
higher.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, because you higher from the ground. Yeah, exactly. But true wheels have give us some maneuver.
Yeah.
They're really, really,
Absolutely.
it's really fun. It's
Yeah.
really fun. Okay. Are there still things you want to learn and train after many years of skating?
Yes. Yes, there are. My problem now is that I'm injured. All right. And so and it's been the hardest thing about having an injury for me has been basically I have to bring my comfort zone right down, and I have to reduce my risks because I cannot fall. If I fall and my cartilage, which is now attached with a tiny thing, if that comes apart, then I have to have surgery and my whole skating life is in jeopardy, right? So, you know, you can't learn new things without slowly pushing your comfort zone. Yeah, I don't think we need to go crazy, but I do think we have to, you know, in a controlled, conscious way, we have to push our comfort zone if we're going to learn new things. So I can't do that. So in a way, I do want to learn new things, and I know that I can't, which is really hard. Yeah. So I would like to learn, you know, the soul slide, anything that has internal rotation. You know, my hips can't do it. It's very painful, even on my feet. Yeah. So anything internal. So soul slide. I mean, I teach soul slide all the time, and my students who do the soul slide, it's like I live through their soul slide. You know, they do a soul slide and I'm like, it's mine, you know, because I'm not going to do a soul slide. You know, I will only do a soul slide one day in the future when I get a new artificial hip, maybe. I'd like to learn the magic slide, you know. I'd like to be able to do the hockey stop again. I used to do hockey stop a long time ago, and then I lost it, and now I can't get it back because it involves too many forces on your whole body. So those three would be the three skills I would kind of really like to learn, but I have to be okay not learning them for now. So the place where I can learn new things without hurting myself or killing myself is quad dancing. So, you know, learning new steps, learning new combinations, all of that for me is where I can now kind of learn new things. And I love being, you know, I have certain friends here who are really good at quad dancing, much better than me. And I just love standing behind them and I say, go. And I just want to copy and learn and, you know, forget. And, you know, for me, it's the best fun. So I can still learn that without, you know, it's pushing my comfort zone, but not into anywhere dangerous, you know? So it's, I would love to be able to learn more things, but I have to be sensible. And it's hard for me to be sensible because I'm a little bit crazy inside. Like I'm, you know, part of me forgets that I'm not 24 anymore and that I can't go crazy. And, you know, I skate backwards faster than most people skate forwards. So it's not like I skate with zero risk, but, you know, I'm very, very, I'm very particular about how I assess my risk. Yeah, I'm not going to skate backwards on shit surface. You know, I'm not going to skate backwards in traffic. You know, I'm very careful. So I love speed and I love velocity, but I choose where and when I do that. Yeah. So, and I think everybody should be like that. You know, I think being reckless is asking to fall, you know, and falling is fine when you're 24, but when you're in your 40s, it's not so much fun, you know. And I see people, I have students who I've known for 10 or 15 years, and I see how they used to fall a lot and now they want to fall less because it's more serious when you're older, you know. We don't bounce. In my 20s I used to bounce, and now you don't bounce so much. I mean, you're also pretty young, so you will discover this later. But I think assessing risk is a very important part of our training as skaters, you know. I think it's fun to be crazy, but be crazy within some limits, because you don't want to break our bodies, you know. We need our bodies later also.
And you know, most people have inline skating just for fun, just for sport activity, and you know, when they put off the skates, they go to work and any others. No? So it's really important about not falling time and time and fall and fall and fall. It's normal. It's normal. About learning soul slide and magic slide
Yep.
and not do this slide to to show. It's the same similar with heel break when you don't hit it. It's that heel break. It's a similar situation.
Yeah, you can still. I mean, I think you can still. I can demo the soul slide statically. I can do it
Yeah,
standing still in
yeah,
my skates, and I can show you stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And so, I can
and
still
go.
do it, no problem. And most people who are learning the soul slide, they know what it looks like. They don't need to see me do
Yeah,
it, right? So the
yeah,
point is, I think I can work around the few skills that I can't do now.
yeah.
I can work around it. It's just a problem when people on YouTube, they're like, "Can you please teach the magic slide?" I'm like, "No, I can't."
Okay. Yeah,
But I could, I was thinking I could do it with a friend to do the demo. Maybe, there's ways I could do it. Yeah.
yeah. I have the same questions on my YouTube channel. My viewers ask me about, can you do a pirouette on spin in air? I don't know the English right word, but I'm a hockey player. No, I
Right.
can't do that. I can't do that. So it's really beautiful that I type four type of skaters. We have freestyle skaters that slalom. There are speed skaters,
Yep.
aggressive skaters,
Mm-hmm.
and hockey players.
Nice.
And we can have five type freestyle skaters.
Yeah.
That is I think beginning type of skating.
Yeah.
And the most beautiful thing about these five types is uh, one of those can't do the same. Figure skater can't do the same like hockey player, and all five type of skaters, they are different. They
Yeah.
all have the same skill. They
Mm-hmm.
all really good skating, inline
Mm-hmm.
skating.
Yeah.
But if we ask figure skater for some tricks, hockey skater, slalom skater, freestyle skater, then they can do that. And that other option is the same. Is
Yeah.
the same thing.
And if you
It's
think about it,
beautiful.
skating is a very unusual sport because there are all of these disciplines within skating, which are all different, and yet
Yeah,
we all have wheels on our feet,
yeah,
And for example, in all of those types of skating, crossovers exist, and
yeah,
stops exist, and strides exist, and turns exist. So all the technique is in all of the disciplines. And I think that's, for someone who's starting skating, they think, oh, I'm just going to skate around the park a bit. And then they can
yeah,
discover, oh, they could go here. Oh, they can go here. Oh, they can do this. And it's fantastic. And I don't think there's
yeah,
another sport with so many options. There's so many options for skaters, if they want to
okay.
get really serious about something or they really want to specialize. Or you can spend your whole life skating in the park, and that's also fine.
Yeah, it's good.
And yeah, and so my idea for my YouTube channel was often that I would often see people specializing too early. So people, for example, deciding to do speed skating when they hadn't really perfected skating around the park yet.
Yeah,
Or deciding they wanted to do slalom when they can't do a crossover normally,
yeah,
And I
yeah,
realized that, excuse me, I realized that the thing that is in common with all of the disciplines are the skills. Down
yeah,
here you have all the skate skills which are used in all of the disciplines, and so different disciplines might have slightly different techniques for a crossover, for example, but fundamentally a crossover is a crossover.
yeah,
There might be differences in style or some little differences, but a crossover is a crossover. And I think, I wanted to help people just get their basic skills okay before they started specializing in other disciplines. So, yeah.
Many times, my clients ask me about, can you teach me how to skate backward? Okay. First of all, I want to see how you can skate forward. Okay, and it's the same. Too early.
And that's,
Yeah.
as a teacher, that part of our job is to educate people that, you have to walk before you can run. You have to skate forwards before you can skate backwards. And for me, all the skate skills, they sort of go in a very particular order. And if you miss 5 skills here, then you're going to find the advanced stuff really difficult or impossible, And so for me, it's very important that a skater understands the prerequisite. Prerequisite skills are, if you want to do a parallel turn, you need to be able to do a scissor. I mean, it's obvious, but many people are trying to turn and they don't know how to scissor yet. And so this is where instructors, our job is very important to help people realize that you can't just, I want to turn today. Well, you have to learn the basics of turning, which is all the positions, and every skill is like that. And usually people are always jumping skills, missing them, and wanting. I always say people want the sexy,
on some level.
sexy skills. They want the sexy, cool, fast skills, and these easy, boring ones they miss. But that's increasing your risk. Yeah. Increasing your risk. If you're going to learn this stuff here, you need to have all of these skills done, and then the next thing you learn happens more easily. And then the next thing you learn, rather than, I think what people do is, particularly if they learn by themselves or they don't have a coach or a teacher, they skip the things that maybe they just don't know, and it's not their fault, they don't know, and they go to those those skills which are the cool skills. Usually they go for crossovers when they're completely beginners, or backwards. Those are the two most popular sexy skills. So I'm sure you see that as well as a teacher.
Yeah. So the next question for you is, what mistakes would you avoid if you started skating today with the same knowledge?
I think, that's a good question. Okay. I think it would be, so when I started to inline skate, I was quite good quite quickly because I used to quad skate. Yeah. So I had those terrible first skates, and very quickly I bought a pair of terrible soft boots, but they were much better. At least the wheels rolled. And for the instructor course, I did the instructor course very early, maybe 3 months after I started inline skating. Yeah. And remember, I didn't do the instructor course to be an instructor. I did it in order to help me look interesting on my CV. But on the instructor course, you had to do a power slide backwards. Yeah. And I couldn't do it. And I learned it like in the exam on the course at the last minute. I learned the power slide. And then I didn't touch it again for years. I just thought the power slide was a strange backwards only skill for the instructor course, right? And it was maybe 10 years that I skated without using a power slide as my most favorite stop. And, that was a mistake, because I was street skating for 10 years without the power slide. I think that's a mistake, because there is no better stop that is medium easy to learn than forward entry to power slide. Power slide is 1,000 times easier than hockey stop or parallel stop. So, and it's extremely effective at high speed, more effective than T-stop, more effective than turns. So, I think it was a mistake to not train the power slide and not learn the forwards entry. because as soon as I learned the forwards entry, I became obsessed. Like I just wanted to do paraslides all the time.
All the time.
You know, you kind of get obsessed with paraslides because it's such a fantastic move. And then very quickly, I got my paraslide up to high speed, to my high speed. And
Yeah.
really, I would not feel safe skating at high speed if I didn't have a paraslide, because
Yeah.
I use it
Yeah.
99% of the time. 99% of the time.
Yeah, I
Only
have
if
the
I'm,
same.
yeah. I mean, you know, so, and I think the majority of intermediate skaters who are skating on the streets are not using forward entry to paraslide because they think it's really difficult, or they tried it once and it didn't work, or they tried it 10 times and it didn't work. You know, the point is,
Yeah.
I think the paraslide is worth the work. Like, it's a little bit of work. Yes. It's a little bit of training. Yes. It's a little bit of flexibility and strength. Yes. But it's not the months and months and months that a hockey stop is going to take you. Yeah, the power slide is really learnable. I have people who can learn it in 30 minutes in class, you know, and I have some people who take 2 months to learn it after class.
Yeah.
Even so, 2 months, that's not a long time to learn a new stop that's going to transform your street skating forever. So, you know, I'm a big fan of the power slide. So I think if I could do my inline journey again, I would have, you know, not left the power slide for 10 years, you know. So, and in that 10 years, interestingly, I had 3 almost accidents where I touched a car. Like I, you know, T-stop, and then, you know, I put my hands on the car.
Yeah.
So that was 3 very close calls, you know. And since the power slide is in my repertoire, I've never had any accident or anything near an accident because I can stop pretty fast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a very big, like I said, I'm a fan of the power slide. I think every intermediate skater should be working on it. Don't think it's too difficult for you. Don't think, and ladies, women, please don't just leave the power slide for the men. Like, trust me, a woman who does a power slide gets way more like, wow, than a man doing a power slide. So, you know, there's not enough women doing power slides. And I just think everybody should be training it and learning it. And then when you get it, you need to still keep training it until it gets to your high speed. And that can be a year of work from when you
Yeah.
first begin to have a little slide until your highest speed. Maybe that's 12 months of work, but it's fun and it's constantly getting better. And, you know, like I said, I would not skate as fast as I do if I didn't have the power slide. I would definitely have to reduce my speed. And I like speed, but I'm not going to be stupid. So, you know, I think there's a lot of skaters who are skating faster than they can stop well. I think that's just a very
Yeah.
unfortunate reality. And it's, you know, it's usually, it's not a problem until it's a problem, which
Yeah.
means for months and months and months and months and maybe years and years, that's fine. And then, bam, one day you hit a car or you hit something out where you can't stop, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know,
I have name for that type of people. I talk about them. There are Ferraris with brakes from, you know, Foxwall, you know, the cheapest version, the,
uh, yeah,
because they really skate fast and they can't stop
yeah,
properly.
yeah. And I think that is a, you know, they need to understand, if you're doing that, you need to understand that you are taking a very big risk. And the risk is with your life, your body, your skating. Um, and, you know, there are, every now and then a skater has a serious accident, you know, and it has to be
Yeah.
somebody at some point, you know. And I do think, you know, when you're street skating, I mean, I think skating in the park and not being able to stop is a risk. But skating on the streets and not being able to stop is a really stupid risk.
Crazy.
You know, it is. And I think our jobs as teachers is really to make people aware that this is not a good idea and to teach people the right stops, you know, and the right combinations of stops. Because I don't go high speed power slide. I go high speed
T-stop.
parallel 10 T-stop
Okay.
power slide. Yeah. And
Yeah,
every
yeah,
skater will do that in order to reduce the risk. Yeah.
yeah.
If I have the space, if I have the time, then I will do a combo of stops so that my power slide is easier and safer and less risky. And that's what I see every good skater does that, you know. So intermediate skaters in Poland, get practicing your power slides, okay?
Next question. How to overcome the barrier before trying new tricks for pessimists? That kind of persons who thinks they will never learn anything.
So the people who think, oh, I can't learn anything, usually I question them, you know, why do they think that? And often they think, oh, well, I tried and I couldn't do it. Yeah. And then the question is, you know, how long did you try for? And what were you trying? Because I think the resistance or the negativity is when people try to learn something and they fail, and then they become very negative about the whole process. And usually what I discover if I ask people these questions is that when people try to learn, you know, that expression, to try to learn. So let's say the T-stop, yeah, a nice sort of easy, low, intermediate skill. You know, they tried the T-stop 10 times and it didn't work. Now they don't want to learn anything. So what they probably did is they tried the whole T-stop 10 times. And I say to them, that's like asking a beginner driver to get into the car and go. But a beginner driver doesn't know where to put the key, doesn't know how to use the gears, doesn't know anything. So, you know, if I'm going to teach a T-stop, I have 6 or 7 different exercises, which begin super easy. So if you begin with a super easy step 1, good, tick, done. Now let's go to step 2. And this is the job of a good instructor. And this is the difference between learning with an instructor and learning with your good skate friend. And your good skate friend says, just do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem with just do it like this is that it doesn't work unless you are a complete natural skater. And a complete natural is the minority. Most people are not complete naturals. The naturals are usually the people who skated a lot as children, maybe, you know, not more than 15 years ago. So, you know, the problem with learning, people think that learning is like just trying the whole skill over and over and over. And usually that isn't going to work. So I try to make these people realize that the reason they were failing is not because they're terrible, but because they were doing the terrible method. Or they weren't using a method. They were just trying the difficult thing. And so, you know, my job or our job as instructors is obviously to take a difficult skill and to make it into small pieces which are digestible. That means things that people can try and they can feel some kind of improvement after, you know, if you're doing exercise, part 1 of the T-stop, if after 10 or 15 minutes of practicing part 1, you should probably feel or see a little bit of improvement. That little bit of improvement is the motivation to keep going and then do step 2 and then do step 3 and 4 and 5. And so I think, you know, I think the problem is when people think that learning is trying the full skill. That's trying the full skill. It's a different, you know, and I think it's, you know, there's not enough instructors in the world, I think, unfortunately, to be spreading that message. You know, and in a lot of places, the only option is to copy your good friend who can just do it. Yeah. And your good friend probably doesn't remember going through phases, or they were natural. Yeah. Or they just learned it over many years of trying. So I think it's important to kind of educate the pessimists that it's not, I try to make it not their problem. Like, you know, obviously you failed. You were trying to do something almost impossible. Yeah. How about trying it this way? Yeah, let's do it a little step at a time. So I think introducing that concept that teaching is a skill. And sometimes the best skaters aren't the best teachers, because often the best skaters, they don't remember learning the T-stop. They've always done the T-stop. And so sometimes it's quite hard for a really good skater to think, how am I going to make the T-stop easier? And that's our job as teachers. That's our job. That's what people pay us money to do, is to make that difficult thing 6 easy things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sometimes that's an obvious process, and sometimes that's not obvious. Yeah. And some instructors teach T-stop in 2 steps or 3. I teach it in 6 or 7, because I think the smaller the steps, the more achievable they are for more people. And if in 20 minutes of class you can go through all 7 steps, the student is going to feel amazing. They're going to be like, wow, I did number 1. Oh, I did number 2. Oh, I did number 3. Yeah. And even the average student is going to feel okay, because they did 1, 2, and 3, and they can see that 4, 5, and 6 makes sense, and they have a month to do that. So I think we have to just encourage the pessimists to learn correctly, or to learn with a method. Yeah. And that means find an instructor near where you live. If there aren't any instructors, then use YouTube, but be careful, because YouTube, people can be good instructors, people can be terrible instructors, and people can be just the good skater showing their good skills. So, be selective on YouTube and try people out. And this is the great thing about video these days, is you can look at a lesson by somebody on YouTube and try it, because it might work for you, it might not work for you. Yeah. And that could be a reflection of you, and it could be a reflection of them, or a combination. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think learn with a method is the fundamental secret to learning. It sounds obvious. It sounds really obvious, but so many people actually don't learn with a method. They just try the difficult thing, try the difficult thing,
Yeah.
try the difficult thing. And especially there's a bit of an idea, you have to fall over a lot to learn to skate. Like, it's trial and error. And I don't agree with that. It's a very strong opinion in South America, for example, and there are very
Okay.
few instructors in South America. So everybody's learning by trial and error. You get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it wrong. Oh, you get it right. You get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it right. And it's a very random process. Yeah. And the problem is, if you continuously get it wrong, then what you're actually doing is you're practicing getting it wrong. You're going to make permanent getting it wrong. And that's the problem with trial and error. And I think people have to be really careful of that, because then you will have perfected bad technique. And that's, later you're going to have to fix that. You're going to have to pull it down and start again with that skill. And that's not an easy process.
I described it like, we have a top of a mountain, and we imagine it's a T-stop. Okay, I want a T-stop. And we have lots of, ways to achieve it. It's a lot of, it's beginner way, it's, medium level, that is the way I tell my students.
Yeah, that's a good, I like the mountain metaphor. That's really good. There are many routes up the mountain. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Very good. And, for years, I don't always teach the same. Like I have certain sequences which I use for certain skills. And then every so often I think of a new one, or a student has a particular problem which my exercises are not fixing. And so I have to think of something new.
Yeah, some other way.
Yeah, another way, exactly. And so this process is, I think it's quite a creative process, and it's not just static,
Yeah.
And I have students, for example, who I taught, 20 years ago, a long time ago, and they stop skating. And then they come back, maybe they have some children, and then they come back years later, and they say to me, Asha, you're teaching completely differently now, the T-stop. And it's like, yeah, I found some more roads up the mountain, you know. And that's why teaching is still interesting to me 20 years later, because I'm not always doing exactly the same thing. I feel like I'm always trying to like develop new ideas, new methods. The skates change and suddenly you have to think of new things, you know. And each person is completely unique. You know, many people have similar problems and similar issues, but sometimes you get a person who just has a unique, crazy problem, you know, and that's super interesting, you know. And it's our job to help them to fix that. Yeah. So it's good that it keeps changing in a way. It keeps it interesting. Yeah.
Okay, next question. When will you visit us in Poland and when we appear together? For at the beginning, I won't tell that is not my question. That's really a question of our follower.
Well, my interest in going to Poland really started about maybe a year and a half ago, maybe longer, 2 years ago. And someone showed me a video of the Warsaw street skate. And I was just astonished to how many people. I was like, wow. And I like big street skates, you know. I think lots of people on skates is always fantastic. So, you know, I have been curious since then. And I do know that in Poland, skating has been growing very fast in the last sort of 5 years, 3 to 5 years. So, you know, my biggest problem is obviously time. And now with COVID, I'm really unsure because I travel a lot. And 3 times a year, I take my students. I used to take just from England and we would go to Europe, but now I have students all over Europe who come and meet me there. But I usually do 3 European cities every summer. So usually in the spring and the summer and the autumn. And these weekend trips I've been doing for 15 years. And usually I have those organized a year in advance. So now I'm already planning, you know, 2021 is already planned. And so I have to work 1 year in advance, which is not very convenient for, you know, it means it's very hard for me to do things spontaneously. So, you know, I can travel in 2 ways to different places. I can go and do a trip, which is when I take my students with me and we go and discover a city, or I can go to a place and teach. And I think in Poland, it would make more sense for me to go and teach you guys who are already there. So this is possible. Essentially, we have to wait for COVID to do its thing and then for travel to become more normal. Because right now, I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think anybody's going anywhere. You know, I have a trip in September to Rotterdam. I have no idea if we're going in September. Like, no idea. And maybe we'll only know 2 weeks before, you know. So this summer, I would say definitely not. Next year, I would say it's possible. You know, I think, you know, you and I will keep in touch. And, you know, I definitely can only visit a new country when I have a host. So a host is somebody, usually a skate school, who knows exactly. Now I know you can be my host. Who knows where can I teach? Yeah, what are the regulations? You know, I can't show up in a city and find somewhere to go. You know, I need someone local who knows everything. So, you know, what's the best city for me to go to? Where are the most students who would want to see me? This kind of thing. So, you know, maybe I think what we need to do is just wait. You know, let's wait 6 months till the end of this year, see what COVID does. Because I think I don't know what's going to happen. And maybe look at a weekend next year sometime, 2021. I mean, I think that would be the earliest anything's going to happen. So yeah, you and I will keep in touch. I mean, let's just say I would like to come to Poland. You know, will you guys come to class? And the other thing is that, you know, people always want me to come and teach, and they think that I'm going to come for free. And so, you know, this is my job, and I charge people to come to my workshops. So the job of the host is to find out, yes, people want me to come, but are people willing to pay for a class? Because in some countries, people are not used to paying for classes. Classes are either free or there are no classes. Or people are just used to having me free on YouTube. So,
Okay.
you know, when I travel, I will charge. So you ask your followers, you know, are you willing to have Asha come for the weekend and you pay for class? So, you know, if there's enough of you who are willing to do that, I'll come to Poland. How's that?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Deal? Okay, great.
We'll talk about it at Emmaus.
Excellent. Excellent. Good.
Okay.
I'd like to come though. I'm curious about Poland, and I've seen some videos which also have made me curious. Yeah.
Okay. So the last question.
Uh-huh.
Last question. What is the best way to study with you online?
Okay, so the best way to study with me online is not on YouTube. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit of the difference between, you know, me teaching on YouTube and me teaching, you know, basically my what I call proper online video training. So proper online video training is exactly the content that I give in class for real, yeah, which people pay me for, right? So, you know, on YouTube, I might give a little tip about how to stop your T-stop from spinning, right? That's like a drop of information about the T-stop, yeah? In the online training, you get all of the stages to do T-stop and the common problems with each stage and how to fix all the common problems, right? So it's a very big difference, okay? And originally my online trainings were an app. And the problem with the app was that it was too big. It was 1 hour, 40 minutes of video on everybody's phone. Yeah. And so years ago, I stopped making it an app and I put it on a different platform, which is easier to access. So, you know, there's a big difference. So the reason I charge for online training is because it's not YouTube stuff. Okay. YouTube is where to go for a little quick tip if you're a supernatural. Right? The majority of people are not supernaturals, and a lot of stuff on YouTube is not therefore designed for them. Some stuff on YouTube is great. I mean, it's, you know, but there's a big variety of quality on YouTube. So my online, so at the moment I have 2 sites, but I'm just going to give you the name of one, which is Skatefresh. So skatefresh.com is my main site. On Skatefresh, you'll see one main button which says online training. So if you click on that online training, it takes you to another website, but in 1 or 2 months, everything, that website won't exist and everything will be on Skatefresh. So just start at Skatefresh. When you go to the online training, basically I have 9 different courses that you can choose, but it's actually very simple. There are 3 themes. So how to skate, how to stop, and how to skate for fitness. And each of those comes in beginner, intermediate, advanced. So you have 3, 6, 9 courses. Yeah. So the most popular course is the how to skate because it's a big variety. So you get skating, you get stride, you get stops, turns, different, you know, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 different skills in each one, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Okay. So the how to skate training is the most kind of complete. Yeah. And then all you do is you look at the list of skills and you decide, do you want beginner or intermediate or advanced? And I have a free class in every one of those courses. So if you go to that site, you could today, you can take 9 free classes of mine home with you. Okay. And these are not free classes like YouTube classes. These are the whole big proper class. And you'll see it's a completely different. Asha on YouTube and Asha proper online training is very different. Okay. So, you know, I really recommend that you go and try out the proper trainings. Yeah. And you can take it and maybe you and your skate friend, you can get together and decide to learn the spin stop together and you can work through all the different stages. Yeah. So it's designed to be used, you know, on your phone. You can look at the exercise, you can do it immediately, you can look at the problem, you can, you know, you can video your friend and see if you're doing the problem. So it's really designed to be very practical. Okay. So the how to stop series, there are 4 stops in each level. So 4 in beginner, 4 in intermediate, 4 in advanced. That's 12 stops. I mean, most skaters know what, 3 maximum. Yeah. So the point
Yeah.
is, people, you know, and the power slide is the free trial in the advanced how to stop course. So if you don't know the power slide, please go get the free trial and you can learn it with me for free today. Okay. And then the fitness, how to skate for fitness, is basically just how to skate properly. Because, you know, what do we do 98% of the time? We just skate. We skate. Yeah. We're not always doing a skill or a fancy trick. Yeah. We just skate. And the majority of skaters are skating incorrectly. You know, people are skating pronating on their inside of their edges. Yeah, very common with beginners,
Yeah.
but also very common with intermediates on one foot, just a little bit. And the problem with this over time is it can cause an injury in your ankle or your knee or your hip, particularly men who are heavier. Yeah, our joints are not designed to have this type of, you know, our feet are designed to be flat on the floor. They were not designed for this type of movement. Okay, so having your skating stride be incorrect is not just ugly; it can be dangerous, as it can cause a slow, what I call a slow injury. It's not an injury from an impact or a fall; it's an injury from bad technique, and those are the worst, because they come so slow you don't even know, and the pain becomes very slowly worse. And I know many skaters, unfortunately, who have to have surgery or stop skating simply because they had bad technique, and that's a horrible situation. Yeah, so I'm really passionate about making sure that people skate well, not just so that it looks good, but so that you feel good and don't have to deal with problems. So even in the fitness series is 33 exercises, 11 in beginners, 11 in intermediates, 11 in advanced. And you get 2 or 3 of these exercises for free in each course. Yeah. And the advanced fitness is the double push. So many people are like, oh, how do you learn the double push? I have the double push in 12 exercises and you get 2 for free. So, you know, please take advantage of all the things that I have for free. You know, I say YouTube is fine for me for free, but go and get my good quality stuff for free because it's much better. It's much better. So go to Skate Fresh and then online training, and then just have a look around that site and pick your theme and your level, and just click free trial. So yeah, and then tell us the difference between, you know, Asha Properly and Asha on YouTube, because, you know, there should be a big difference. I really hope, you know, most people, if they work through a full lesson, you will learn it. You will learn that skill. So yeah, skatefresh.com. That's where to get more.
Okay, Asha, thank you for your time. So we wish you all the best. So much fun, no injuries.
No more injuries, absolutely. And I hope everyone in Poland has a fantastic summer skating. You know, it's a very unusual time in the world, and I think we all need our skating just to stay healthy and sane and just okay in this crazy world right now. So yeah, happy skating and happy summer, everyone. And hopefully see you next year in Poland.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care, Damon. Bye bye.